Welcome to the Stars and Stones Painting Show. I'm Amy. The purpose of this project is to complete an entire painting, having filmed the entire process, and also kind of, commentary, chatting, making artist statements here and there. The composition started with this golden rectangle, and I decided I wanted a hallway going back, but I think I had decided I already wanted this here. This is a celestial sphere, and what I'm envisioning here as this has come together is an onlooker like myself walking into the temple, and as you're walking into the temple, this feeling of vibration and all these memories from the ancestors come flooding back to you, and you remember that the beautiful nights when you sit around and gaze up at the stars and talk about, tell the stories that were happening as the celestial sphere turned. If you start the story and it's a good story and you're talking about, the stars and how they're moving, as we are turning, new characters could begin to appear over the period of an hour. If you started your story right at the right time, and boop, a new star would come up. It can be exciting doing things like that. Also with the sun, sunset or sunrise. Who knows what our ancestors got up to? It's very apparent that from a very early time that people noticed certain bright stars, but it was more important to remember the names of the pictures and to tell the stories between those pictures. And this is one conglomeration of all of those stories. This is very, very Egyptian, right? Tarawet with a knife. This is very Egyptian. And then it comes to this horse, which was only introduced into Egypt at least 2000 BC forward, more like 17 or 1500 BC. Definitely Egyptian. Now, when it gets to the zodiacal characters, I'll show you those real quick. When it gets to the zodiacal characters, these are kind of covered up because they have the labels on them, but you can still get the gist of where they are. There's Cancer, it's a little crab, and we have Gemini. There's two heads there. That's Gemini the twins. Then you have Taurus. It's a leaping bull looking backwards at Orion right here. Then we have Pisces. It's two fish tethered. Then we have Aquarius. It is a man here with a white crown of Egypt within two jars. We have Capricorn, is a fish and a goat. We have Sagittarius, which is a chimera animal. It is standing on a bark with its front feet. It has a bow. It has a head, two heads, a bird head, a human head, human body, human arms, wings, scorpion tail, a bull tail, and a horse body. And then we have Scorpio, and then we have Libra, and then we have Virgo here. She's holding up her chaff of wheat. And then we have Leo, and then we're back to Cancer. And you know how notice how Cancer and Leo overlap. Now this is I've been studying art since very, very young. I had a lot of art books around me. I've constantly looked at pictures all my life of artifacts. This has taken my imagination more than any other artwork that I've ever looked at. And I think one of the main reasons for that is because of the international effort that went into creating this. So I'm thinking that it was most likely made between 2000 and 500 BC. So it had to have been after the horse, but before Cambyses. And then it had to be between Napoleon and the Ptolemaic dynasties. So that's not very little in between. I mean, that's like, Alexander, sorry. Napoleon, that's on the other side of zero. Alexander at about 300. So that's only 200 years missing, but I'm really sure it wasn't in the 200 years that between 500 and about 300 that Cambyses was there. Now I'm thinking that if it was made during the Ptolemaic dynasties, as is suggested by most modern scholarship, that it would be more Greek. But these stories are so interwoven. In one culture, let's just say, for example, the story of the character that I'm most interested in, Cygnus the Swan, which is this horse here, this horse maiden. In one myth, she is a swan, Leda, and her mother is raped, I think by Zeus, and gives birth to a beautiful horse and then, swans, okay? In another myth from Arcadia, more Argos, Greek area, on that Akkadian plain, there was a cult there of the horse, and there is a story there that it was a horse maiden, a horse that was a woman disguised herself as a horse and then was raped by Zeus and then gave birth to a beautiful horse maiden. So in that sense, that's possibly the one thing that could be very Greekish, would be the switching of that swan for the horse. And that would definitely point towards a very late date of creation. However, there's nothing on this disc that could not have been there at 17 or 500 or maybe even 2000. Now, I'm not pushing it back any further than that, because as you all know, until the Battle of Kadesh and a few other, things like that, there weren't many the horse and chariot was not part of the war style until that point. Now, This is not a victorious horse. It's headless. It's blind. And it can't really travel really well because it's part human, part horse. So we're talking about a human horse woman. What character in history or the celestial sphere, because it could be some kind of socio-political statement to replace the swan with the horse and then cut its head off. You know, these horse lords come through, they think they're going to come through and dominate Egypt, but that's not going to happen because, you know, we're going to get our own horses, whether they're the Santasha horses from that central steppe plain more towards kind of Europe, a little bit left of the Black Sea area where most of our domesticated horses come from today. And then of course there's the beautiful Arabian horse, and a lot of the pictures, it's really hard, you know, can't, hey, what kind of horses did y'all have? What did y'all call them? Well, you know, a horse by any other name. But this horse is headless, okay? Now, it's also interesting that Venus is right here and it has two heads, right? And this character, this headless character, is looking right at that. So I'm thinking at some point, this character looks straight at Venus, okay? But, you know, no matter what the astronomical information is, I still don't know a name. Like I can say, okay, this is Tarawet, this is Raharakte, or Raharakte. And when you think of it from that Raharakte, you can think of how it became Hercules. Mace Man, don't know what to call him. Menes or Narmer, the man with the mace, but he doesn't have a crown, so I'm not really sure. This is definitely not a king. It could be a king before he's crowned. It's most likely a shepherd because he's battling this wolf, trying to keep it away from his flock. Okay? And that's what you do at this time right here. Okay? This star brings the flood. So the flood is from here. Okay, so that's the flood section. Sirius! Oh, flood's coming. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay, but then there's also a beginning and an end. Because when Orion starts coming up, that's the beginning of Sirius coming up. Because Sirius is right behind Orion. This is the Sophis cow. Let me check my time. I'm starting to go off on this. Let me check and see what's going on with this thing. Oh, I can't see. I'm blind. 33. Oh, yeah. It's time to stop.